I remember the good old days.
You're gonna need a bigger boat.
Hello and welcome to the Recap Review. Today we're looking over set number 8921, Pridak. The set contains approximately 47 pieces, was released in early 2007, winter, and at time of release was approximately $10. Here we have him, the leader of the Barraki, the Shark. Goodness gracious. This is one of the few sets that was actually kind of controversial. I think I mentioned it prior in my Rudaka review. It's one of two that were really controversial, and this one was controversial because of the red markings on his blades and his mouth. Now, story-wise, Greg has said that these are not meant to be blood. This is merely his natural markings, but we really know it's actually supposed to be blood. So, with that out of the way, let's jump into the pros and the cons of the set. But first, I'm going to preface this by saying that just because a pro and or a con is here does not necessarily mean that it is my opinion and I agree with it. I'm bringing it up because I try and make these reviews as objective as possible so you guys can formulate your own opinions and let me know in the comments below or on the TTV message boards. So, just because something's here, unless I explicitly say, yeah, I agree with this 100%, please don't assume that I do agree with it. These are either things I've heard from the community over the many years since the set has been released, or these are things I have personally observed firsthand, having owned the set. So, with that out of the way, let's jump right into the pros and cons, starting off with the pros. Right off the bat, interesting color scheme. Color scheme is actually fairly consistent, being comprised of black, white, and a little bit of red and gray. Certainly interesting, especially for a white set. This is our white villain for the year. For the year. Now, the second pro would be his build. His build is incredibly unique. It is very unique. It's not complex per se, but it's certainly different and unique enough to be interesting. It looks visually interesting. And it's actually almost mind-boggling how incredibly simple it is, but really, really good looking at this exact same time. It's fantastic. So that's a definite pro. Another pro would be his new pieces, specifically the blade piece here, his new feet, his head mold, the Squid Launcher, the squid, and his pincers. So those are new pieces. As far as recolors are concerned, we have the Mari blades in white. I believe these pieces here are new in white as well. And that looks to be about it. But it's still really cool. For those few recolors, they're really cool recolors. Now the pro would be the basics in articulation, being the 3 in the legs, 3 in the arms, and 1 in the head, which is excellent. Fairly standard stuff. And finally, the last of the pros would be... we do have one extra bit of articulation. Totally forgot about this. I don't know how, because I was just talking about the build. But his torso. He has one piece in his waist, which allows him for upper body movement for extra dynamic posing, which is fantastic. Really like that, how that works out. It's really great. And finally, the pros are the final two functions. And he has two. One being the pincers that are standard for the Barraki. The second being the Squid Launcher, which is also very standard for the Barraki. Now, how this works, the Squid Launcher is made of this really weird, malleable rubber. How this works, take a squid, lay the eyes horizontal, stick them in, put your hole through this little guard here like a trigger, pull back, and let go. It should fly really well. And even if you don't want to shoot it, the squid, for the most part, will stay in that launcher. So, a lot of people will consider that to be a pro, especially considering you may or may not like launchers. So overall, there's not a whole lot to say as far as the pros are concerned. They're fairly standard pros, and that's not a bad thing by any means. The set looks really good. For the shark motif it's trying to pull off, it pulls it off beautifully. You got the fins, which look really great. A lot of different fins. You got this head mold itself looks really great. The feet are really cool. Overall, he has a great build. The color scheme is incredibly consistent. The red helps with any red pins, so that eliminates it being a con. It's really, so far, really cool set. It really pulls off that whole shark look. Bet this guy's a real popular set on eBay in Shark Week. Eh, maybe? Too chummy? Chum, get it, sharks? Oh, done. Anyway, let's jump into the cons. Unfortunately, he does have a few. Right off the bat, he is a little bit simplistic in his arms and legs. Specifically, his arms. Now, normally the whole two pieces for the arms, the upper arm and lower arm, it's not really a bad thing. Fortunately, his lower arms are Toanuva limbs. You know, the ones from Takanuva. And they already have that curve. So while he has an elbow, he has a third elbow, technically. And it has a very unusual and very odd shape, which is really unfortunate because it looks like a solid set, and then you get to this. Now, I understand it does need this for articulation purposes, but it does have a very awkward look. It kind of breaks things up a little bit. Another con would be the red markings for their controversy-causing nature. They also do break up the color scheme a little bit. Now, not necessarily a bad thing. I mean, they're accents. I understand that accents are great, but some may not like the fact that they are red on white. It looks kind of jarring, or at least it would to some. Another con would be his feet. His feet are really awkward, especially for posing. Mocking, that's a whole nother story, but posing, it's very difficult to get him in a really good pose, or at least one where his feet have to be spread apart. So it's really unfortunate because they look really cool, and they do make for, you know, a great fin. However, they are very awkward, and that is unfortunate. Another con would possibly be his torso, considering how very spindly and easy it is to get him into, like, kind of positions. So posing's a bit difficult. Another con would be the position of the Maritorin blades here. Specifically that they're so close to this blade. Posing for them is also incredibly difficult. Another con would be his new weapons, mainly the rubbery tips. Everything up till the tips is solid, but the tips are rubbery. If you aren't careful, then they will bend as such, which is a shame. Finally, the last few cons would have to be the placement of his weapons, which is also very unusual. You know, they can be symmetric, which is good, but having this one like this doesn't really allow it to go fully back. It rubs up against this arm, which is a shame. And finally, the Squid Launcher, which is just terrible, honestly. It's very awkward, difficult to use, it's made out of weird rubber, its shape is very unorthodox, and it's very, very difficult to actually use. The squid will bounce around, it's not very accurate, it's difficult to actually get the squid to go out, sometimes it just stays stuck. So it's really unusual, very haphazard, and overall not very good. And over time, it will end up just breaking. So that pretty much covers everything, I believe. Overall, Pridak is excellent. He has a very unique build that looks really good. The shark motif is fantastic. It's gotten across very, very well. The new pieces are threatening looking. They look unique. They just look good. The recolors we get are fine. New pieces, they're fine. The molding is excellent and the functions, for the most part, work well. So overall, Pridak is definitely a must-have, especially if you like sharks and Bionicle. So, if you can, try and pick him up. What do you guys think? Do you like Pridak? Do you like his color scheme? Do you mind the red markings? Do you think they're actually supposed to be blood? Let me know either in the comments below or on the TTV message boards. If there's anything I messed up on, or should have mentioned, also let me know in the prior aforementioned places. Join me next week when I go over one of the brutes helping the army, specifically Elyak's army. Next week, I go over Nocturne. Thank you all very much for watching, and I'll see you then.